Hello and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I'm your moderator, Brandon Jones. Joining me this week, panelists Michael Damiani.
Yo! What's up?
Brad Ellis.
Yo, yo, yo.
My partner in bets and co-moderator, Mr. Daniel Bloodworth.
Hello.
And I had to start the Zoom call today, folks. Ian Hank is now in the rotation. We originally used the 5-person crew because that's what we did. We were in the studio. Ian needed to be on the podcast. Ian doesn't specifically need to be on the podcast. Ian does have a lot of responsibilities here at Easy Allies, so is happy to maybe take a couple shows off and just join the regular rotation of the Jovial Penguins, giving us better chances, Blood, which is a good and bad thing. It means we get better bet chances, but it also means I'm that much more angry when we don't win. So, no, Ian started the Zoom call. Going to be starting corrections music by myself, unless you want to start those, Blood. Should you do corrections music?
Oh, okay.
Do you have a method? Can you
A method?
start them in the way that you would wish? Distinguished guests, we are here to talk about some of the biggest news that happened in video games this week. Before we do that, we have to answer for all the mistakes we made last week. Bloodworth, please begin corrections music. Nice. The Splinter Cell HD collection only came to PS3, not Xbox 360. Most Splinter Cell games are sadly broken on PC, requiring lots of mods and fixing up. On the bright side, Xbox One X has a 4K patch for the whole series. You can play the Xbox originals all the way to Blacklist in 4K. Chaos Theory, Conviction, and Blacklist apparently work fine on PC in 4K, but Splinter Cell 1, Pandora Tomorrow, and both variations of Double Agent, Double Agents, are apparently best played on Xbox One X. Spider-Man 3 released cross-generation, not Spider-Man 2. Huber was curious. Huber was supposed to be on this podcast instead of Brad. Shout out to Brad. There's a correction.
That's a correction.
So I would have told Huber that directly, but so he was on to something. The PS2, Wii, and PSP had Morbius and Shriek as villains for side missions, while the PS3 and 360 versions had Rhino and Scorpion for Spider-Man 3, which I did not play. The PC and console versions of Spider-Man 2 are also weirdly different games. It's not the cross-gen thing that we were talking about, but there is some other version of Spider-Man 2 for PC that we got that correction. I'm like, no. I looked up gameplay. Like, sure enough, it's like, I do not recall that weird tutorial thing that Spider-Man just went through. Played lots of Spider-Man 2 on PS2. You apparently don't need an expensive cable for the Oculus Quest Link. Amazon basic cable works just fine. Lots of people weighed in on that. I did not test it myself, but I have seen that at various places throughout the internet. You can play Oculus exclusives on any headset via Revive, which I'm sad that there was any confusion about that last week, because that's how I played all sorts of stuff that are...
I mean, that's sort of a weird technicality. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you can use some aftermarket program to play anything on this. Like, it's still an Oculus exclusive. It's just, there's ways around it.
But you can, there's ways around all of those systems. And we did not specify, this is a funny correction, did not specify Xbox Series S backwards compatible games do have a lot of the enhancements that X has. The big thing is they run at 1440p instead of 4K. What's hilarious about getting corrected, though, is that I read a direct statement from Xbox. So, sorry we didn't dive into that detail, but literally every word of what I said was directly from Xbox. End corrections music. Before we get into the news, and there were lots of surprises that happened this week, I would like to surprise all of you and myself by talking about something good, talking about something happy, something that may be changing the world, or something that may be just, bringing some sunshine into people's lives. For this week's Silver Lining, which is brought to us by Harrison Holt McHale, who's pointing out potentially something that we could miss, and talking about all of the various next-gen things, next-gen ammunition for the next-gen console war. Over the past console generation, if not more, I'm sure we've all exclaimed at one point or another how we miss when it was simple to put a game in a console and start playing with no data to install or updates to download. Once upon a time, you'd be sneaking around a seized tanker or gliding around Dragon Shores mere minutes after taking off of the cellophane. Well, it seems Microsoft has been listening. Now they're testing a new feature for the Xbox, which allows players to preload games that they don't even own. This means that even if you want that sweet physical edition of Halo Infinite next year, you can jump straight into the fight as soon as you get the game disc into your console, just like the good old days. Seriously, I think it's a really cool feature by Microsoft, really forward thinking. Thank you, Harrison Holt McHale.
Yeah, is that in the new, the current Xbox One right now? Do they have the new interface update already?
I don't know. I think this might be something that is just coming to Series X. Sounds like just next gen. exclusive, but I don't know. Correction on the silver lining would be a first.
Oh, I don't know. It's not a correction, but it's extra detail because I think that they may have updated I know they updated the store app on the Xbox recently, so I think that might be what happened. It's not a next gen thing. It's the new feature in the store, but I don't know for sure.
Microsoft is going to buy ZeniMax Media and Bethesda in that for $7.5 billion. A shameless plug for our new series, which we haven't officially come up with a name for it yet, but Bloodworth,
I've sort of settled on EZA Newsflash, but we didn't call it that when we put out the video.
Newsflash. We have a new show called Newsflash, which you led the conversation. Any takeaways before we get into some other specific details that I think have been running around in my brain, but and any takeaways from the conversation that you can watch separately from this podcast. It is labeled breaking news, but we will be segmenting some headlines when they're just too gosh darn far away from when we're scheduled to shoot the podcast. What are your takeaways, Blood?
The main takeaway is it's historically one of the craziest buys that's ever happened. Full out buying not just Bethesda, but id and Tango Gameworks and all these companies, and it's 2,300 staff members that come along with it. It's a huge deal, and it's going to put Xbox on different footing, and they've already announced that Doom Eternal is going to be coming to Game Pass very shortly. So they're already moving. They're already acting on that, even though the deal itself, will take time to go through legally on paper. They're acting like it's a done deal.
I think that maybe why I'm thinking about this different from the acquisitions that they talked about in the past, because I remember seeing that as more of a sign of Xbox really investing in this generation, not necessarily performing like next E3. This wasn't going to be something that we were, suddenly going to get all of these new studios. Double Fine was going to come racing at us with a fresh new game next year. But like you were saying, there's already value there. There's literally their entire catalog from all of these, series. Curious if you can say, though, Blood, what is the largest video game acquisition? This is the second largest. What's number one?
Oh, off the top of my head, I saw the thing, but I don't remember it.
7.5 bill was this one. What's the biggest?
Was it
Activision, or is that
number 3?
Epic Games being acquired
Tencent
by
buying
Tencent?
Supercell.
Yes.
Brett Ellis wins
Supercell.
at 8.6 bill.
Always bet on Tencent for the cash.
Always.
Wait, they bought Supercell, right? Or Supercell bought them?
Nobody's buying Tencent. I believe Tencent bought Supercell.
They don't get bought.
Buying Tencent that'd be a fascinating one.
Oh man, that headline.
Yeah, and Activision Blizzard buying King for 5.9 bill.
Yeah.
Microsoft bought Mojang for 2.5 bill. Facebook bought Oculus for just 2 bill, and Zynga bought Peak. Peak for 1.8 bill.
That's what I feel like a lot of times happens. It's these mobile companies that are just making dollars off of a single game maybe, and they're just raking it in, and then somebody will buy them, and then that's ends up being kind of like a one-hit wonder. Whereas Bethesda, again, it's historic. There's so many different franchises that they are responsible for. It's kind of nuts, and people have brought up that they own both Wasteland and Fallout.
Yep.
They own both the Outer Worlds and the Elder Scrolls. It's just... well, actually, they might not actually own the Outer Worlds because Private Division published that. But, they own those studios. So it's craziness. Yeah, I think even Carmack talked about, maybe I'll be able to come back around now.
Oh, wow.
It's...
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, this just cements the consistency for Microsoft for the future. They're going to have these games coming from these studios and they can count on them on almost like clockwork. And I think before this, it was always, you thought of Microsoft, you're like, Halo, Forza, Gears, give me another one.
Repeat.
Those three mostly. Yeah, it was those three were but those went away and have come back. But those three were always coming up every few years, and you could feel the burnout on those. At least at some point in the past few years, you always felt the burnout on those franchises. So this just adds so many more franchises for them that they're going to get every few years now. And you better believe, I understand that they said that they're going to honor Deathloop and Ghostwire's arrangements
Tokyo,
already.
yeah.
So they will not be exclusive. They'll be multi-platform, meaning they're coming to PlayStation 5. But you better believe everything else, it's going to be Game Pass for 6 to 12 months minimum. So if you don't have an Xbox console or a PC and you're a PlayStation 5 owner, you could say bye to these games for at least 6 months. You don't spend this type of money unless you are going to, flex that value. You're going to leverage that, and it's Game Pass, absolutely.
I could see them putting stuff on other PlayStation though. Obviously things will be Game Pass. I do wonder if some stuff like Elder Scrolls and whatever Fallout will be on PS5 day and date, because that's just free money for them or extra money. They're gonna lose out on that money otherwise.
I mean,
it's I see what you're saying, because it makes sense from a visual standpoint of their dominance, but I wonder if it makes sense for them financially to just miss out on that for a while.
Yeah, how does this benefit Bethesda?
I mean, how doesn't it benefit Bethesda?
Stability? Wasn't there a report that... Sorry, I read something. I'm sorry I cannot attribute it to a person right now, but I was so chaotic the last 24 hours for me. Somebody who is reputable attributed to... Apparently Bethesda wasn't in the best situation. And that there was some financial problems, so this really helped them out. So it's stability, it's security and stability that they're at least going to be good for at least 5 to 10 years minimum.
They're chilling now.
Well, I wonder if Microsoft could have saved, $1, maybe $2 billion if they'd only bought Bethesda 2 years ago. E3 2018 was Fallout 76, Rage 2, Elder Scrolls Blades, Wolfenstein Youngblood. There just wasn't.
Yeah.
This company's really kind of turned things around.
Bethesda.
So I wonder, with being in the position that they are, I wonder if that's why all the Starfield buzz and the Elder Scrolls 6 buzz started as early as it did, maybe just to incentivize, give some more value.
I forgot about how long ago they announced those games, dude.
Right.
Oh my god.
We just think of, we were really down on Bethesda for a bit there, and I think we've kind of come around just in
for
terms
good
of
reason. No, I'm still down on a lot of them for a lot of their shit.
Yeah, but
Fallout 76 still is there. It's insane, that game, and they're thinking there hasn't been a Sky or an Elder Scrolls or a new Fallout after that to kind of wash that bad taste out of everyone's mouth. Thank God for it and Doom and Arcane doing good stuff.
Yeah.
There's Elder Scrolls Online as well, which
it's quietly
I don't
doing
feel like
fine.
I don't think it has a lot of buzz, but I think it's doing fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they ever decide to follow up with it now, they also have Microsoft's backing now. Microsoft has an investment in marketing it, so that can help boost it a bit.
That's right.
This maybe put some analysis on where I think this is how this might be an even bigger deal is I wonder if Microsoft has taken them not wonder. I think it's absolutely clear that they are now going all out on, we need to become a big video game conglomerate. Well, this is addressing the shortcomings of the first-party software, but I think someone internally decided, hey, look at all these other media companies and other mediums that are doing this. They're just buying up everyone and making a conglomerate. Why doesn't someone do this with gaming? Obviously there are parent companies and holding companies that have this, but not on the scale of a Disney or something like that, where holy crap, look at all they own. This, I think, is the first step towards them maybe trying to gobble up a lot of big name people and just being, we're massive. We cannot fail. We're going to be here for a long time. And I think this will probably not be, this might be the biggest acquisition, but I think there will probably still be more that will be bigger than their previous ones, but not quite as big as this. I think they're not done. I think they're going to keep this up for several more years.
I don't think they're done.
Yeah.
They got the cash to burn, dude.
Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said, "We'll always look for places where there is that community of purpose, mission, and culture. We will always look to grow inorganically where it makes sense." And so they are definitely not afraid to spend more money. But obviously this is a good staple of franchises to own. Obviously there's a lot that Microsoft can do and probably will want to do, with their own respective console that's just about to get, a couple next gen versions at the end of this year. good to know Microsoft really cares about games, though. That's like, to me, that's not a given that they can't, that they 7.5 billion care, that they would give it, not necessarily that Phil would want this or that this would be good for Xbox, but that Microsoft, at large would be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's completely go all in on games. Not that games are big, but like, are they gonna own all of these franchises? Look at every aspect that is Bethesda and ZeniMax, and be like, yeah, that this is all going up.
Well, what I think is really interesting about Microsoft so far is compared to how a lot of these acquisitions tend to go down, and even some of Microsoft's past acquisitions, it feels like they're being extremely hands-off, almost to the sense that it's like, we're going to give you the money and you just keep doing whatever you've been doing. Because, like, if you look at, the last round, you look at Double Fine and you look at Obsidian in particular, and both of those companies have been doing their own thing to the extent that, like, they're not even using Microsoft's PR representatives for a lot of their games, right? Like, I'm still talking to the same people I talked to before they were acquired, and I think that's really interesting. And I think, particularly with Bethesda planning things like QuakeCon and all of that, I think it'll make it so that they don't feel like they're part of this faceless void, right? I think that's really important for them to still have all of those same community connections and those same marketing strategies for the people that know that brand and those products, to be able to go out there and maximize that with just more backing from the Microsoft mothership, so to speak.
I'm just surprised at this turn. I'll be the first to say this. I never thought Microsoft would go this direction. I'm just blown away that they have just gone all out on this. I have never been. I think this is one of the most wrong I've ever been about the future of a company. I thought they were maybe being tepid about gaming. They might have been on their way out and just being like, this is our last gen. Like, this isn't. We have other priorities. Like, I thought it was cloud stuff. I thought the service-based stuff would stay, but man, they showed they're really here to stay. So I'm really surprised. But I'm also glad, because this makes things exciting again. It was getting really annoying last generation, always having to be like, there's no point in getting an Xbox if you don't care about their few exclusives. Just play everything on PC, and then Sony and Microsoft, so Sony and Nintendo's exclusives. Like, that song and dance was just getting so boring. So it's nice for this to be exciting again. Thank you, Microsoft, for making this exciting. I was like, I hate when it gets complacent. Yeah.
Well, this is going to take forever, though. I mean, I know there's most likely things that Bethesda or any of these companies have in the works that we didn't know about that are now potentially going to shift to whatever Microsoft wants to do with them. But conceptually, is this something we can expect? Other than, hey, these fun existing properties are all coming to Game Pass, and like you were saying, Bloodworth, potentially no more Bethesda press conference, although they just look like they're having too much fun. It means too much to the employees at Bethesda. You know what I mean? All those faces that we see, the lady at the front desk, she'll be crushed if she doesn't get to come back.
Yeah, I actually do. I think that's one thing that, they're going to wrap those announcements into their own press conference. There's no way they're going to have Bethesda do a separate one. If we even still have an E3. It's definitely a huge power play, particularly announcing that right before pre-orders, to put that confidence in people that, like, hey, no, we will have games. We will have games that you want on the Xbox. And with, I think, seeing the prices creeping up from Sony and 2K and some other places, that Game Pass becomes more and more attractive in multiple ways.
So tough, gotta be tough when so many of the metrics you're using for success are packaged within bigger things. Like, what is that Game Pass number, that spike? Is it just like, revenue overall? Is that, users? Is that specifically getting notes from Bethesda that they're like, no, we know all these people jump ship. We know, like, all these people just that we're not interested whatsoever, that are now all just going to file over. If you're Microsoft, how do you determine that? Or just does it Can you not tell? You're dropping bombs this big in a console war. You just know you got to make that impact. How do you know you're winning, Damiani, if you're Microsoft?
I mean, I imagine the very basic financial level. It's with a Game Pass as a service to see, like, if you're talking about how that becomes successful and like how they judge it. I feel like they have to have someone who's thinking about this: how many copies of like a game's going to sell normally. This it's how many people you are getting to buy in that would never have otherwise touched this game. I think that's what they're looking at. That's the most important number to them is whatever they call that term. How many people are buying into that service that would otherwise never buy any of the games that are on there? Like maybe buy like they're targeting like the 2 to 3 games a year users. I feel like are their biggest value that they're grabbing, because now they've got them on the hook for this money. And who's to say people still won't buy something? Maybe it's not on Game Pass, or it leaves Game Pass, or people just want a physical copy. I feel like there's still that to complement it, and that's not gonna. It'll be interesting to see the balance between the people who buy into the service, people still buy physical copies. I think it's trending towards away from physical, and like that percentage balance is going to skew for closer and closer to more digital. I still have concerns though about the long-term viability of Game Pass for video games. When it comes to movies, and it comes to Netflix, when it comes to music streaming services, those things don't cost. None of those cost $60. None of those a lot of those don't even have the budgets of games. Like biggest movies, yes, like rival the budgets of games, but not always. And those models are very like, there's always like talks about like how can Netflix keep spending this money? How can these like streaming services keep up? Are there too many of them? Like, I don't know. It's very early, so I mean, someone needs to do it, and I think Microsoft's probably doing it the best of any of the game options right now. They're definitely the leader, so I think they have the upper hand. It just will be very interesting to see how 60 or now next gen price of $70 games translates to you're losing more and more of those sales. Is that really can you really keep this up?
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about. I could see them in a board meeting. They could be losing numbers, but they're like, we have this many millions of Game Pass subscribers, though. But it's like we're still making less money overall. And I do wonder over time if Game Pass will just continue to go up and up to kind of compete. In price, I mean.
Reminds me of like Disney Plus. They got like the whole catalog. They got all this stuff, the content that can be on there. And then just like once every month or two, they're like, oh, here's this little Disney film. You're like, thank you. It's going to be that with Bethesda now. Just Game Pass is going to get a little extra something. Thanks.
Thanks for Skyrim again.
Yeah.
I'm definitely worried also, Brad, besides price going up, because that's inevitable. The price, I mean, price is already going up for next gen. Like, I think the past, maybe the date to lock in the current prices, saw a whole big thing, like PSA, like last chance to do it. I also worry about...
I think that was for PC Game Pass, which was still in beta. Yeah.
Thank you. The library. I worry about like the library. All these streaming services, they have broad libraries. I feel like they have everything, and all of them have just thinned out over time because that's how they all go. And everything Microsoft owns obviously will still probably be on there, but a lot of these other third-party developers and publishers might not be so willing to share access to their games going forward. I mean, we already saw this with what was GeForce Now and one other service where they were offering all these games for free, and everyone's like, the company stepped in and goes, no, you can't just do this and stuff, because there's no they weren't getting any money from it now, or there's misunderstanding about the contracts on that.
Right.
They do care about money, and I think that it's an early phase for this. Like, let's try it out. Like people are talking about our game, it's getting buzz. More access. They think more access to it is just good. I worry over the years you're going to see third parties. No, we're going to start pulling out of Game Pass.
Yeah.
Possibly,
well, GeForce Now's implementation is a very different weird thing because it's allowing you to access games that you've already purchased on Steam or Epic or whatever. And I think there's just, again, it comes down to fine details in those contracts. So that like once that went out of beta, it felt like certain publishers were just caught off guard and like, hey, you know what, this isn't exactly what we were thinking or signed up for or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting because I think some things like Red Dead Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, it was up on Game Pass for a while, and then, it went away. And so they kind of get the best of both worlds there, because they get the whatever kickbacks they get from being on Game Pass and people playing that game. But then, because it's a long game and because it's an online mode, then people are like, oh, it's going away, I need to buy it now. And so they essentially get more sales when they leave Game Pass, because people don't want to stop playing it. So it's, it kind of works on that level as well. And it also works like a bunch of the Yakuza games are on there. I'm playing Yakuza 0 right now, and that helps to promote the new game coming out, because people want to catch up before they play 7, and so they play whatever they can on Game Pass, and they don't have to worry about dropping however much that might be, $90 or $100, to get all those old games.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there, Billworth. I imagine what will happen is that newer titles won't be added day and date from third parties. They will be added at a later date. And it's after they've maximized, they squeezed every last dollar out of the full price sales, the discounted sales. And all right, who didn't bite? Put it on Game Pass. We'll get something out of that. We'll get some value from that. Also, I want to know what the games are going to be like, the cyclical titles that come back every few months, like Back to the Future Trilogy, just bouncing around between all the different services. It's like, what's going to be those games? Is it going to be Mass Effect Trilogy? Is that going to be like that ever comes out, the HD remastered? It's like, this is the one that bounces around like every October, expected to come back to Game Pass.
Yeah, they got EA recently too. Yeah.
That's funny. I would love to see the price evaluation of Bethesda that Microsoft's looking at. It's like, how much did Bethesda tell Microsoft that Elder Scrolls 6 was going to make? I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know what
$1
promises
trillion.
Yeah. Where are they at mentally? Definitely surprised. Last week on the podcast, we were making fun of the Sony over there making that PlayStation 5 with their pre-order debacle. And then Microsoft stepped forward, speaking of, and said, hey, you don't have to worry about Microsoft. Next week, we're going to show up at this time with these sellers, and we're going to have a wonderful time. Everybody's going to get an Xbox Series X or S if they want it, and everything will go wonderfully. I did not pick up one of these pre-orders, much like I did not pick up one for the PlayStation 5. Tried, couldn't get it. How did this go compared to Sony's offering? I'm seeing mixed signals. I've not found a direct consensus about how it went, which leads me to believe that it went okay, if everybody can find something.
Went okay, but it kind of went about the same. The only difference was people knew when they were supposed to go live, so there was a point of comparison there.
But they didn't.
For my experience, before I went to bed, I had tabs open for Walmart and Best Buy and Target, and since I had gotten through on Walmart, that was my first pick, but I was getting out of stock messages. But then I go to Best Buy, and I think they had even had a countdown or something, but it wasn't, the button was never showing up to actually order it. And then I went to Target, and I'd order it, and then it would tell me that there was nothing in my cart. And so I just went back to Walmart, and I tried a couple more times, and then after 6 times, there it is, your order went through. But I know, I think the Microsoft Store didn't necessarily go up until later either, and Amazon was way later.
Right.
Best Buy and Amazon didn't start until an hour after.
Yeah. I was pushing F5 that whole time, legit an hour. I was just waiting.
Yeah.
So Ian made a good point last week, which is I don't know. Would you rather have a scheduled time you got to wait and bite your nails until it happens, or
would rather
you just, with Sony just hey,
just work when they say they're gonna work? That's what I would rather have.
I mean, yeah, the problem with it's been exacerbated by COVID. All these high tech releases, not just consoles but gear, or from streaming gear to computer parts. People are just using bots left and right. And the worst thing you can do is announce a time for bots, because all those bot people are going to now know when to hit the button to click to go. Because if you have to wait till any hour, if you do it randomly, there's less of a chance. But man, the how advanced some of these are getting for scanning, where they load low level pages that don't have as much on it, so they're less intense, so they load faster, or outright just taking you to checkout. I think most people would probably prefer a time and date over random times because that's extremely stressful to be like at any moment it could drop. And you don't want to stay glued to your computer all day, every day for like a week, just trying to get something. But at the same time, mashing F5 for 30 minutes, an hour, and coming away empty-handed is also equally as frustrating. I think both suck, honestly. I love that whoever tweeted out, maybe it was Jason Schreier who tweeted out, maybe Microsoft should have spent some of that $7.5 billion on making a solid pre-order system. Absolutely. There are other places that handle high volume pre-order systems through lotteries, through account registrations that have to be done in advance, and unique URLs generated. I don't understand, at least on Sony and Microsoft's end. Like, Sony did do something with the email signups, and it sounds like once you got to Sony's site, it ran pretty smoothly. It was just confusion about when the emails were going out, so maybe props to Sony for doing it that way and having it running correctly. But it should just be, let everyone sign up over a certain amount of time to make it hassle-free, and enter all your stuff, your payment information stuff, and say like, all right, you're in a line, and when launch day happens, or we'll run the check at some point, and if we have enough, you'll get one, or have everyone sign up, and there's too much demand, you didn't go to a lottery system. You'd see how many, like say 1 million people wanted an Xbox Series X, but they only have like 500,000. Well, then you just only pick 500,000 people, the people who signed up. I just hate having to like stay around for hours or multiple days. Like, that's so stressful. That sucks. Get rid of that shit. Like, these companies want to sell their consoles. They want it to be a pleasant experience. I need someone to explain why this is the hard. Is it because they're scared of storing people's credit card information for that long? I don't know what it is, why they don't do it that way.
Here's the problem. As far as I can see, of the 7 other men that I work with, you are the resident expert of this. Like, like if there was anyone, if I had to give somebody $499 and just throw them out into the wild and say return with an Xbox Series X, I think you would probably be the best person. Like this, the only other things outside of consoles are like fish tickets I tried to get once, and like the hotels at Comic-Con are always just hilarious. Like, those are gone.
Yeah, Comic-Con,
and just the Comic-Con tickets. So you have so
Comic-Con
much experience
has a line.
in this arena. When you say this is the way that these programs should be done, I'm listening to you, man. I got no answers for you.
Didn't GameStop do like that fake queue thing
fake.
where they said
it was not real? It was not real.
It's just fake, dude.
It was fake. It's fake.
Apparently the page was auto-refreshing.
Yeah, it's just auto-refreshing.
Dude,
which I thought they were doing what you said, Jones. Comic-Con. Comic-Con does do a queue system, and you just got to stay in the queue line. And once it's your turn, you get access and you fill out your stuff. And it's basically a lottery. And there are people who are, the only reason I see people argue against is like, oh, I was there on time, I should get it. It's like, whatever. It's like, it's better for everyone to have like a fair chance to get it. Yeah, it just sucks. This process is not fun. It's not enjoyable. And it sucks more with COVID because most people were used to just going into a store. I'm just going to my local store. I'm going to pre-order it. And like local stores apparently got like jack in terms of inventory. People post on social media, really low numbers being posted on doors of Best Buys and GameStops, and that sucks. So I think the situation amplified how bad it was. So maybe it would have gone a little bit smoother if it was a normal year, but man, it sucks.
Because that's one of my takeaways too, Damiani, also, is that it just sucks. This is just a difficult thing when you have so many people that all rightfully should get one of these things and have the money to pay for it. It's not the problem. It's just there's only so many of these things get made. Only so many of these things can be shipped to certain places.
To me, it kind of makes the whole process of pre-ordering almost pointless. It's like it's like you're basically
from an emotional
back in
perspective, possibly yes.
You're basically back in the same situation as if there were no pre-orders and like everyone was rushing to get them at launch. Like it's absolutely just as chaotic, and it's hard because like I definitely feel like Damiani's system could potentially work, but at the same time it's like, well, if I don't get one through that, then there's got to be some other way I can try to get one. So it's just it's nuts to think that we're at a point now in society where something that's not out for 6 or 7 weeks can be sold out. Nope, there will not be any more for you to get if you weren't there this week. Too bad.
Well, Damiani is at the Fire Festival right now. How's that going now?
Yeah, reporting live from here. You want to know? Yeah, the pre-orders here went very smoothly,
listeners,
apparently.
it's very sunny where Damiani is. Damiani's taking he's doing much better than we are. We're all cooped up inside. He's enjoying the
I
beach.
also understand some frustration too. I mean, they're not it's apples to oranges. It's not apples comparison here, but a lot of people who are video game consumers are used to, I can get a game no matter what. It's available digitally. The very worst, if they don't have any more physical copies, I can buy a digital version. I mean, you can't do that with a system, obviously. So, and obviously production has been probably impacted by COVID. So there's going to be fewer models, but the peace of mind is what I'm arguing here. If there's anything to take away, is the peace of mind of once these dates were announced, they should have immediately Microsoft Sony should have opened their stores immediately, and maybe they would have been hammered at first, but like wait a week and put in your order or whatever, and if you put in an order, just like you're gonna get it at some point. It's the point where like even if they're sold out of the launch models, it's like you can't even give you your payment information. Like I don't care if I get it, not me personally, but the mentality, as long as I get it at some point in the next year, I'm happy. Right. Can I just give you my information now and be done with it? Like why do I have to? Because when you do another like a second wave launch, it's also gonna be like a mad dash to that as well. Like it's just. I like that's stress free. Yeah. Just like let people have that peace of mind.
As much as you, Damiani, are an expert in getting advanced sales, getting pre-orders to things, Daniel Bloodworth is an expert at making fun of the naming series of the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. So I will give you a chance to fill yourself, Bloodworth, because I don't know if you heard, but at one point, Xbox One X was up 747% on Amazon's movers and shakers sales charts. So I'm sure there's no correlation whatsoever with all of the pre-orders going up for the Series X and just a bunch of people rushing to Amazon to buy the Xbox One X. I'm sure all those people legitimately wanted to buy an Xbox One X. So this is it. This is what you've been foretelling this whole time, along with many other people, right, Bloodworth?
I mean, I don't know if I've been foretelling it. Also, somebody pointed out that like at this point there are so few Xbox One X's being sold. 700% could be a minuscule number, right? Mm-hmm. It's like if they sold one Xbox and then this day they sold 7 Xboxes, that's 700%.
Yeah. That still sucks though.
Yeah.
But there were
Can you imagine being like a parent, like, oh, I got an Xbox for my kid, and it's just like, Mom, what is this? This is what I wanted.
But
somebody right now needs to start the Twitter feed that's the wrong. It's like at wrong console or something. And I just want a video feed of Christmas morning. Kids open their Hanukkah
presents. But it sounds like the
One
X ended production in July, so there's not going to be the in-store confusion if anyone actually goes to the store for these things.
But on Amazon,
I think there's still potentially more chance for confusion between the S and the X because there just hasn't been that kind of thing that's happened that much. And the fact that in a lot of ways the S is doing what the X is. So I can see, like, coming from like the parent or the grandma perspective, just like, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I guess, but wasn't that like what the exact same generation was before, with the X and the Series and the S before?
Not exactly, because they came out such a distance apart. It wasn't.
Yeah, but the systems could do a lot of the same thing.
Yeah.
I honestly think people are just going to be happy as long as it's an Xbox Series or whatever. Like Series S, Series X, the average consumer is just going to be, I got one. I think the Series X, the people who want one or like or definitely want that one over S are more enthusiasts and they know what they're getting into. I feel like there'll be very few cases of a kid waking up and going, I wanted the Series X, and they just like, oh, I got a new Xbox, I'm happy and stuff. They're just gonna be mostly ecstatic. I'm not saying there won't be disappointments, but I don't expect the confusion to be like that. But however, we do get an Xbox One X instead of a Series X, definitely expect a disappointed child on
I wonder if people like buy the S or whatever, and they get a physical game too, because they don't know, because that's how the games have been forever.
Yes, right?
And they're just like, Brad. Here's your game, Billy. Like, I can't play it, Mom.
They're trying to like trade it with a friend at school for like, cards, and it's
I would so do that to a child who was bad. It's like, here's your Series S. Like, what games do you get me? Give him the physical games. You suck, Dad. Like,
yeah, Brad, that really is the worst. like that's the most likely and the worst thing that's gonna happen.
That's what I think.
People are gonna buy games.
Yeah, I want to see, but all of those mix-ups, all of the purchasing the wrong things, like I want to see the pie chart at Microsoft that has like the grandma slice, that they're like, how are our grandma numbers, this year? They're like, confusion is strong. The grandma numbers are really raking it in.
That Christmas morning and somebody getting an Xbox One S and like, all right, let's play a game, and it's like, well, the online infrastructure is getting hammered right now, so it's going to take 8 hours to download. So
yeah, that's very true. Because I was going to say, yeah, if you bought the wrong game, it's not the end of the world, because just have the kid, take it back and turn it and buy it digitally for them. It's like if you're a parent and you have the means, you're going to make your kid happy. You're going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was digital. I'll give you, here's the credit card. Let's buy you the digital version. But then you're absolutely right, Bloodlord. Holiday season, usually when these services get hammered. So then you got the kid being like, now you're not the kid. The kid's going to be crying or complaining, but the parents probably going to be ripping out their hair about, why is this taking so long? What the hell is this and stuff. I imagine Microsoft customer service, even open that day, is probably just like, we hate our life. But Sony customer service is like, please, no, don't call. We hate
it's
you.
Like they're all in the phone room, and there's just this giant grid that explains. It's like 1X, Series X. Okay. The tale of two tweets. Xbox was very satisfied with their pre-order demand. We are humbled by the record-breaking demand for Xbox Series X and S. Huge thanks to everyone for the excitement. If you weren't successful today, be sure to sign up with retailers for updates and expect more consoles to be available on November 10th, aka when that console is being sold in stores. Sony, on the other hand, said, let's be honest, PS5 pre-orders could have been a lot smoother. We truly apologize for that. Over the next few days, we will release more PS5 consoles for pre-order. Retailers will share more details, and more PS5s will be available through the end of the year. So, the apology on one hand from Sony, no concrete details with like a date or a time or anything, and then Xbox being like, well, we did as well as we could. We got as many of those retailers as we could getting going. And
yeah, that was a funny thing. Because on the one hand, the PlayStation tweet is very transparent, but on the other hand, you're just gonna do the same thing again, basically. Yeah. It's like, hey, we'll let somebody else tell you when these are gonna show up.
Yeah, I saw other retailers saying like, gonna be doing it here at this time or whatever.
But that might be better for Damiani's emotional state. So I don't know. It's tough to see who
People
the winner
leaking to
here
Wario.
will be. Some other fun stuff I just wanted to jam in here that we learned about Xbox this week. Found out the price of those Xbox Series S and S controllers, $60. Got a closer look at the Xbox Series X 1 terabyte expansion cards, which you and Damiani and Bloodworth were talking about extensively. People were talking about expansion cards. What happened with expansion cards this week? Anything we're sharing?
First of all, there were a few outlets that have already gotten Xbox Series X, and they've come with the expansion cards. And then I think the price leaked first, and then Microsoft actually announced it. But it's $220 for that hard drive. But Damiani was showing like what the equivalent drives for PC are, and they're either in the same ballpark or way more expensive than that anyways.
Yeah. The Verge, I think, had maybe the first report on Sony's storage drives, the Samsung 980 Pro models that are coming to, I think they're releasing on October 10th for PC. These are the 4th gen M2 NVMEs. I was surprised. I saw Blood chiming in last night or posting the news, and I read it and I looked up what I paid for like my 970 Pro and what 970 Evo prices were for 1 terabyte. Like a 1 terabyte 970 Pro, which was the previous top of the line from Samsung, was like $350 on Amazon still. Like not, and that's how it's been for like 2 years. It's been around that price. So I was expecting these new ones to be more than that because they're supposed to be faster and no, the pre-order prices on both Newegg and Amazon were way less than I thought. They're actually cheaper than the 970s right now. I was like, how is this possible? Very surprised about that, and I think that's why it's putting a little bit more. They're about in line, but I think it also puts some like pressure on Microsoft because they're going to see that. The Sony one is faster, like almost twice as fast but still the same price. They're the same ballpark price. I think that's where you're going to see some complaints. Though Bloodworth, you were saying you think it's only going to be temporary because of maybe how prices will probably go down, especially for maybe the Xbox storage.
Yeah, because they both talked about, that there will be other manufacturers that will be able to make these drives, and so I think what we're going to see is with that there's going to be pricing competition. There's going to be prices going down for them. So I think it's going to be less like what we typically see with console accessories, which when they come out, that's basically the price for the next 5-6 years. And these will be more like what we see with prices on SD cards, to where, when the Switch came out, there was like this preferred Switch branded SD card, but as time went on, there were bigger ones, there were cheaper ones. Everyone was, showing ones that could be compatible, and I think that this stuff is so new that we're not there yet, and particularly with the form factor on Xbox. But it's gonna start becoming a more competitive marketplace because everyone's gonna want more storage, and you need this specific type of technology to do it.
Though I kind of, with what you said to me earlier, Blood, I think before we started recording, that I don't feel like this compelling need to buy one of these new storage devices, the expanded storage, right away, because you have other options. I know it won't have the same read-write speed, but in terms of like transferring games back and forth, I don't see, especially for the Sony, you were telling me the size of the Sony storage drive, and like the biggest size that you can have available anytime for buying on your own is 1 terabyte. For like that much more gigabytes, it was 820 or 880, I forget what you said it was, roughly, like around there,
somewhere around 825 or something like that
for that extra 100 plus
internal
gigabytes. Like, that's not worth changing out your storage for that. So I don't see an inherent value.
Well, you're not changing out. This is like a
additional
addition. Yeah,
so
you plug it in,
expanding it.
Yeah, it's a total expansion.
Okay.
So.
I thought you said there's only one.
So you're basically doubling.
There's one additional.
Yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood that. My apologies. Sorry. Thank you for that correction. So then, okay, there is a value to that for some people, but I still think transferring back and forth with that much of a default storage size isn't going to be that much of an issue for.
Well, you
a
don't
while.
have to with these. You don't have to transfer back and forth. If you if you're using like an external, like a more traditional drive,
that's what I meant. Using a
for like
360
solution. And Xbox One games, you can do that and like port them back and forth. But for the cards, the expansion cards, whatever you want to call them, the new drives, it plays directly off of that exactly as it would off of the internal. Like, that's why the spec, and that's why it's so expensive, because it's using all of that exact same technology.
Yeah, okay. That's what I would expect from it. I'm saying I don't have an issue with like buying one of like a Seagate or, whatever brand you want to get for these like external hard drives that you could buy so cheap right now and just transfer a game in the, at some point overnight or something, like, oh, I want to play this tomorrow. I don't see that as too big of a hassle, that like $200+ just to have that much. Maybe later in the generation, if game sizes get super big later in the generation, then so be it. It might be worth it, but I just don't think at launch it's a good value.
What I think is actually very interesting is the smart delivery and how they're talking about with the Series S. Those games will actually be smaller file sizes, because since it's not going to be targeting 4K, then they're putting in smaller texture sizes. So so even though
that's good.
Yeah. So even though you're getting a smaller internal drive with the S, all your games are going to be smaller anyways to begin with.
Wow. There's going to be so many comparisons between the X and the S. And TGS is happening right now. Phil, just moments before we recorded this podcast, said that Japan is Xbox's fastest growing market, which again is kind of like the percentage thing for the Xbox One X is selling. It's like
Right.
Xbox traditionally does not do very well in Japan, so if it's just doing a little bit better, then
I don't know. I don't know a nice thing to
that's
say
the
about
fastest
that.
growing. But apparently, there was an
Don't wanna be
82% increase in Xbox Live in Japan
That's not
this summer
even-
over last summer
over 0%. It's pretty
So,
easy.
Wait,
Yeah.
of what?
of using
What was
Xbox
it?
Live, of just
Oh,
the traffic on
Xbox
Xbox
Live,
Live in
okay.
general. 82% increase up this summer over last summer. So more people. are-
That's dumb.
yeah.
I'm sorry, that's straight up dumb. Because
Hey man, that's all I have to bring you from Xbox at TGS. All right,
That's
the
gonna
wrap up of
account-
my Xbox report at TGS.
that's going to account for PC users, right? Am I wrong in thinking that any like PC users that are
Well, it
playing
should.
Halo and stuff are going to be quote unquote on Xbox Live?
Potentially.
And usage, like it's COVID. Every
everything's
video
going
game usage is going
Yeah.
up this year, no matter where you are.
breaking records, man. Just let him celebrate.
That's for shareholders,
Jeez.
one with info like that.
Yeah, that's cooking the numbers there.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to look up the Xbox sales in the last week, man.
Are you
Oh
going
my
to?
gosh.
It's like
Yeah,
you
here
can go
he is.
on.
Here
I might
he
find
is.
I
it.
can go
I might
on.
find
the
it.
blood's doing it right now. Absolutely.
Get him,
Meanwhile,
bud.
Phil, call us when you're buying Sega.
Good. Going on. And now, a word from our sponsors. Ian Hank is not here, but Ian Hank has a fancy new headset that I want. Darn it, he's got the headset. I need to coordinate with him. I need to go over and get a headset because here I am with this stupid wire that I deal with every single week. Ian does not. Ian and his wonderfully beautiful hair, which is tucked up into his headphones, gets to be completely free and clear, gets to get up and leave his desk and walk around and do other things in his apartment while recording this podcast. You've seen it, you've heard it. Based on the award-winning pro gaming headset design, the Pro X wireless headset features high-quality materials, advanced communications, precision audio, and total wireless freedom. It has light-speed wireless technology up to 20-plus hours of battery life, a detachable pro-grade microphone featuring real-time Blue Voice technology, including passive noise isolation, compressor, limiter, and more for clean, professional voice comms. Its advanced Pro G 50mm drivers deliver clear and precise sound imaging with improved bass response. You can hear footsteps and environmental cues with clarity to give you the competitive edge. With supreme comfort and durability, it has a pro-grade sleek and minimal design that's built to last with premium aluminum and a steel reinforced headband. The ultra-comfortable memory foam earpads and headband are wrapped in plush leatherette. I've definitely used the word leatherette on at least 2 other occasions since getting this ad read, so thank you for expanding my vocabulary, Logitech, and provide passive noise isolation. Extra velour ear pads are also included for an even softer feel. For a limited time, Logitech G is offering our listeners 10% off select products at logitechg.com. Use code EASYA, that's the word EASYA, EASYA, for 10% off today. That's 10% off select Logitech G products with promo code EASY, EASYA. And thank you for the headset, Logitech. I like to walk the dog after we post the podcast. I will be doing that. I'll be cutting the podcast after walking Sophie, but I will be heading out and trying to find what music Milo likes to listen to. Has introduced me to a lot of fun musicians that I haven't heard in the past. Beck, not as big of a hit as I thought. They Might Be Giants, huge hit. You definitely feel that They Might Be Giants kind of crossover into the world of Nickelodeon. It's like, is this a new animated show, or is this just another They Might Be Giants song? I don't know. But I have lots of other crazy things that I am accessing now via my Spotify account. Cookie Monster and Elmo, they all have their own Spotify channels, man. You think you just go to one Sesame Street? No, man, Bert and Ernie are doing their own thing. Bert and Ernie could have their own Coachella if they wanted to. The best way to listen is using a pair of premium wireless earbuds, especially if you can get them for less than half the price of the other guys. That's why I recommend what I take with Sophie every night on my walk, my wireless earbuds from Raycon. Raycon's newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, a more compact design, and a noise-isolating fit. Raycon earbuds are stylish and discreet, no dangling wires or stems. They got the wonderful carrying case too, which plugs right in, so I just keep that on my desk. Put them in, charge, take them out, unplug it, put it in my pocket. I don't like to think about these things, I don't have to. They're stylish and discreet, no dangling wires or stems. The company was founded by Ray J and celebrities like Brandy J.R. Smith and Mike Tyson, who I have never beaten on the NES. and they are obsessed with these products. Give them a try. Raycon is a 45-day free return policy, so you can make sure that they're the pair of wireless earbuds for you. For a limited time, get 15% off of your order at buyraycon.com/allies. That's buyraycon.com/allies for a special 15% discount on Raycon wireless earbuds. So the everyday E25 are their newest ones, but it seems like every single time I read something from Raycon, they have a new product out. Make sure to check it out now while the deal's running. buyraycon.com/allies. And if you are a patron of Easy Allies, thank you. Amazon.
All right.
Back to Blood.
Do you want this update?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boy, that was
Media
fast,
Create.
Blood. You just did that instantly. Sorry.
It wasn't that
Little
instant.
podcast humor.
Oh, sure.
Little early access.
Media
no ad
Create, September 14th to September 20th. Okay. I'll start with this past week. Nintendo Switch, 110,000 this past week. PlayStation 4, 1.8 thousand, so 1,800. Xbox One, 31.
31.
31.
31 entirely.
Wow.
And then lifetime to date, Switch has 15 million, PS4 has 9 million, and Xbox One has 114,000.
Oh!
To think, at one point, Microsoft sales for the 360, they were pretty good because they had Tales of Vesperia as an exclusive back in
Blue
2008.
Dragon.
And Blue
Lost
Dragon.
Odyssey.
Those JRPGs, man. Xbox was charted
Yeah.
back then. How the mighty have fallen.
7.5 bill. They got so much money to spend. I mean, they don't.
They could spend
wanna dominate.
7.5
We'll see.
billion in Japan, and they would not
We'll see.
see them overtake Switch. No.
Damn.
We'll see.
There's pretty much nothing they can do, short of buying Sony or Nintendo in Japan.
Damiani, that's old news, man. We got new news. We got a new console war. Are you ready? We got two new fighters. Well, one's kind of an old fighter. Brand new fighter. Stadia now has a nemesis. Amazon announces a new cloud gaming service called Luna. Amazon is stepping in the ring with Luna. It was rumored since last year, codenamed Tempo. The game controller leaked somewhat recently. Not a very good-looking gaming controller. Ergonomically, it looks okay, but there's just a lot of textures going on in that controller. I don't trust it.
The colors, it's like purple and brown. It's got the Twitch purple going on.
What?
They're
Purple
leveraging
and
Twitch.
brown?
Gotta take a look. At this.
Ew.
You got to do something different.
It's in Slack. Yeah, you can see.
Now they are accepting applicants for early access. We do not know when early access will start. We do not know when this will actually launch out of early access. But ta-da, it's a thing. This is something that Amazon is doing. They are also entering into cloud gaming. Was it here? We kind of knew that Google was doing this, and then they had a big build up to the Stadia event where this just kind of dropped. I prefer this way of doing it. How do you all feel in terms of if Amazon decides to do something? We don't necessarily need to do it on stage in the COVID era. Just let us know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not the audience for this. Just get it out there, dude.
Well, the big difference here, it feels to me, and I'm sure they were probably working on something before Stadia was announced, but it just feels like they looked at Stadia and was like, okay, we'll do that and take away the stupid parts. Like that just seems to be the way that they're doing it, because the controller is working exactly the same way that the Stadia controller does. It's going through your Wi-Fi router rather than going through your PC, and they talk about it is actually less latency to do it that way when you're streaming. But what the key big difference is that it's closer to what people thought Stadia was going to be, and that you are paying a subscription for a library of games, which includes like Control and Resident Evil 7 and Grid and some other things. What was funny is they had Metro Exodus on there, which is one of the things that I tested on Stadia.
Right.
It's like Metro is just going to be everywhere.
Overcooked 2, Plague Tale, Surge 2, Grid, a couple others.
Yeah.
100 plus games.
Yeah, and so, but what's kind of weird about how they're doing it is, so they have, I think it's called Luna Plus, is the main subscription channel, but then they also are talking about they're doing like a side thing with Ubisoft. So if you just want some Ubisoft games, then there's going to be that has Assassin's Creed and Immortals
Right.
and Watch Dogs.
But I'm confused, Blood. I remember back in the Stadia presentation, the Ubisoft guys were there. I mean, like they seemed like they had a really tight relationship with the Stadia people. Now they're over here in the Luna.
But they're selling full price games over there.
Yeah, but I just thought, it seemed like a real serious, wonderful relationship that was happening there. Just looks like Ubisoft's gonna go anywhere, man.
Yeah, unprecedented.
Doesn't look like Ubisoft cares. You got a streaming platform? Let's do it. Just feel bad. I thought there was some, no one said exclusivity, but I just thought, that breakup happened real quick. But yeah, it's of all the companies to have the streaming thing of just like finally I can stream a Ubisoft game. Like that has been, the very first game we ever saw operating on a Stadia was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So
yeah,
kind of funny to that, and just that really, just Ubisoft. But they are certainly, whenever somebody waves the streaming flag, Ubisoft is there. They will be the first people to show up at your party. Coming to PC, Mac, Fire TV, and iOS. Android at a later date. And curious for people that picked the iOS out of that one, considering all of the issues that are currently happening.
I was gonna say, they get approval.
How are they going to pull that one off?
There's no way.
Apparently, it's essentially like a web app.
Right. From Daniel Ahmad on Twitter,
browser.
Safari supports WebRTC, so theoretically you could play cloud games via the iOS web browser, similar to how you can play Stadia games via Chrome, assuming Apple allows this loophole. Judging by how Apple has operated in the past, something that could potentially sneak by for a little bit, but this might be something that Apple is going to crack down on. And if I'm looking at Michael Damiani, if for any instance of whether that is likely to happen, seems very likely. Do you think, Damiani, that Apple's going to say no to this?
They're still in their little tussle with Epic over there,
which has had so many updates that I just haven't covered here on the podcast.
Amazon's such a big competitor, with those companies, especially like with Apple, and like Amazon couldn't even like sell movie if you used Prime Video, you couldn't just buy or rent videos through the app or through the web browser for the longest time on iOS because of like Apple's policies. No. And this is no. If you exploit a loophole with them, they'll be next. They'll be like, yep, now we're going after you as well, Amazon. So, I totally expect that to happen.
What about names, man? So Google's calling their thing Stadia, Amazon's calling their thing Luna. Are these just gonna, in like 2 years, are they just gonna go back and call it like Amazon Game Streaming and be like, we don't know what we're thinking with that stupid Luma thing? It's like
maybe
EA Origin just finally became the EA desktop app. It seems like
their development studio software is called Lumberyard, which is a hilarious one.
They all like with a lot of these products, they seem to come out and they're like, we really want to make, Mixer, it's like we really want to make this its own thing. This is gonna be its own brand. You're always going to wonder, who's involved with this because it's so hot and sexy in its own thing. And then 2 years later, they're like, no, it's just us. No one cared. This is a new name we wanted to jam down your throat, and nobody wanted it. And so,
well, they changed Twitch Prime to Prime Gaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now it doesn't have either Twitch or Amazon in the name.
Everyone just calls it Twitch Prime.
Because
still,
Prime, Prime is a brand that they're pushing now.
Yeah.
Just Prime as it is. So, I guess that probably fell in line with that. Stadia always sounded like a sports thing to me. I never understood that name. And I was like, are you going to be a sports channel? It sounds like a new like ESPN division or something like that, not a video game system. And Luna sounds like NyQuil or some like sleeping medication name or something like that.
That's like a generic name you could use.
Well, that's a streaming games. You got your tablet.
Is it a space program?
You're in bed and you fall asleep playing that. That's kind of the vibe.
Maybe it's a name for a space program that NASA's gonna like. Right. It says it. Yeah.
So
it's
a
little weird.
I know it's tough to tell now, Damiani, but if you were in a room, if I brought you in a room and it was the Stadia logo on one screen and the Luna logo, and I just said, I'm not telling you what companies are behind these things, but these are both game streaming services. Which one are you? You don't know their payment plans or anything. Do you think Luna's just kind of generally more attractive? Because you are more of a sports
I like
guy.
Luna. I think Luna's. It's more pleasing to my ears, Luna, than Stadia, for whatever reason. Just drawn to that name more. Shorter names, I feel. Stadia's not that long either, but fewer syllables. Shorter names generally do better. They're easier to remember. The more unique they are. I think Stadia, they're just going for uniqueness. kind of like a Wii. So they're just trying to like get that to stick on your name, and obviously it works. You remember Stadia. Luna, I have a feeling would get forgotten a little bit more easily. Might get confused in like the more mainstream about what it is compared to Stadia. I would guess. Just
the
because
reason
Luna has
I remember Stadia though, Damian, is because it sucks, and it's fun to say that.
Stadia sucks.
That's the reason I remember. I'm not even kidding. That's how I remembered.
Some Stadia person, like the door-to-door salesman, like I'm representing Stadia. Stadia, I've never heard of it. You've heard of Stadia? Sucks. Oh, Stadia sucks.
Oh yeah, right.
My God.
That's us. Sorry, W.
The logo and the controller both look to me like something. I don't know. They feel sort of cheap to me. I don't know what it is.
They look a couple gens old.
Well, it's not that so much. It's just like when you go in and like you're looking through the controllers and like, oh, okay, this is, the aftermarket. This is the Mad Catz thing, right? Like it's just, it kind of gives me that sort of like low-level brand vibe.
Oh yeah,
which
it does look.
I mean, it looks.
Yeah.
I have it up right now. I mean, the surface design, I guess, is the most unique thing. But I mean, everything else on it looks almost like my Xbox One controller. They just have like a microphone button, and in the D-pad, they have those little grooves on the cardinal spots. I can't see the triggers or anything like that, but it looks like a Nintendo Pro controller.
Yeah, Switch Pro controller.
But using maybe like even the buttons on it rounded look more like Nintendo XY BA buttons look more like Nintendo, but even like the I'm assuming that's like the menu button and the options button, the mic button, they look a little too like flat, like they have no curve to like or bevel to the surface like some other controllers have. But I mean the sticks look very typical. And it looks it looks whatever. I don't think it looks bad or anything. It looks standard. It's just not doing anything radical. I think it's just being safe, and generic.
Yeah. What is interesting is, do you remember when Stadia was hyping up this like YouTube connection? Where like, oh, you could be, watching somebody playing on YouTube, and then you just click a button and you're playing right along with them. And I think there's been like a handful, like maybe even only one or two games that have actually done that kind of hop in and play from a link. But they're doing something similar with Luna, where they're saying like you could watch Twitch from within Luna, which isn't that big of a deal because you could do that with Steam or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
But embed players, nothing new. But you could also be watching a Twitch stream and then just click a button and unlaunch the game in Luna, which it's convenient, but it's also one of these things where it almost feels like it's kind of a given for cloud gaming because you don't have to install anything. You don't have to, as long as you're logged in. And what was surprising to me is signing up for the trial or whatever. I was like, all right, I answered some questions, told them like what my upload and download speed was, and then I clicked the button and like, wait, don't you need my email address? And like, oh, I'm signed into Amazon already, and so it just took my Amazon info.
Just tell us what we want to know.
Those cookies.
Yeah.
But you said the most important thing that, or hinted at it. I don't know if we officially said at any point in this conversation, $5.99 a month. So there's your big difference between this and Stadia, is that this is a much more traditional model. But like, I don't know. If I was betting in Vegas, I would say this isn't going to do well, and Stadia's not going to do well. At least not as well as either of these countries.
Price.
Introductory price, right? Yeah, just for the early
We don't know what
period.
it's eventually going to cost.
Here's all these old games that you've probably already played.
Hell yeah,
Fine,
Brad, I'm with you on that, man. I don't think they're going to get
Cool.
the
Thanks.
catalog's
Ubisoft.
not going to be.
The Ubisoft catalog is day and date.
So
So that's what's
you
interesting.
get all their do you get their newest games
Immortal Phoenix Rising, yeah,
for $5?
Day it launches.
Well, we don't know what the Ubisoft channel costs.
Right.
Okay, that's
There
okay.
you go.
It'll be
Yeah.
on top. It'll be the
Yeah.
$5.99
I don't know if it'll be
service and then
$5.
Yeah.
The channel. So yeah, packaged in an interesting way, and just I gotta wonder what Amazon is expecting out of this, because on one end, like you're saying, Bloodworth, it's nice to go so far after Stadia, potentially fumbled a lot of different things, or you get all of those details out and then you realize, okay, here's what we should do, here's what we shouldn't do, here's ways that we can be competitive. At the same time, you come out so late in the game, so close to these new consoles coming out, hard to be too excited.
Jones, these
about
companies have
Luna.
so much money, it doesn't even matter if this fails to them. Like, it doesn't even matter.
Fun to watch
Splash in
them
the
spend
bucket,
it, though,
dude.
huh?
Splash in the bucket.
It's fun. Rayman creator Michel Ancel quits game development. Doesn't just back away from that game he was working on. Anyone remember?
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
It's been a while since we've heard. And Wild, we got an update on this week. Remember Wild?
Oh.
Yeah, we streamed it, dude. That game was weird.
No, that was a
Oh, no,
you're
wait,
thinking
what was that
you're thinking
game?
Ancestors.
That was another
You're right.
Ubisoft
Wow,
guy.
Assassin's
totally
Creed
different, yeah.
people.
That's
Which
right,
does have a
yeah.
strange Ubisoft connection. That was one of the original creators of Assassin's Creed.
I don't remember
that
Wild
moved
at
on
all,
to make
then.
Ancestors. Michel Ancel, working on Beyond Good and Evil, and also infamously created Rayman, which made many other things, and Rabbids, of course, is leaving Ubisoft Montpellier to work in a wildlife sanctuary.
Whoa.
So
Pretty cool.
initially, when you hear about these things, I think like, oh, okay, what does this mean for Ubisoft? There's been a lot of shakeups at Ubisoft. Does this trickle down, or is this in some way connected? Or like, man, haven't heard BG&E 2 for a while. There's lots of rumors like I'm making a movie and stuff. But like, what does this mean for development? It's like it's probably just this guy wants to go hang out with animals.
He's just not having a good time anymore.
I really want to expose some deep conspiracy or some crazy update. Nah, BG&E 2 is many years away. And when this game finally does come into our hands, Michel Ancel will be in some jungle somewhere,
Yeah.
having absolutely no doubt in his mind that he made the right decision. But is this someone that we are familiar with? This is a name that I recognize, definitely a face that I appreciate. I recall strange to see him walk away from BG&E 2 because I remember him coming on stage and weeping when this game finally got announced. Definitely seeing him, very emotionally involved in this project. But any memories of this man specifically?
Well, what's interesting is, he's definitely somebody who's always been highly regarded and gotten a lot of accolades. But it doesn't, in some ways, it doesn't feel like he's been as prolific as other big names. It's just somehow he's managed to touch people and make that impact to where, like, when people hear Michel Ancel is doing something, like, they pay attention, and that really largely comes down to Rayman and Beyond Good and Evil. Those two games that people are like, are very big fans of, even if they're not necessarily the gigantic mainstream hits of something like a Metal Gear Solid or something.
I think I connected him to the marketing specifically of Rabbids because it seemed like for a while they would have Rabbids trailers and he would be at the studio and then like a rabbit would come out and just start beating the hell out of him. Like he was so physical in all of his videos. Like he always made himself look foolish, first and foremost. He did a lot of really wacky game updates and stuff. That's what, Brad, I hate those like, EA behind the scenes like dev things. If there was just more physical comedy involved, then
Sure, yeah, it's all fine.
Then that's something that we could talk about. But Wild and Beyond Good and Evil 2 will go on, specifically, again, from the statement that he made. Many of you might want to know what will happen to Wild and BG&E 2. No worries. Since many months now, the teams are autonomous and the projects are going super well. Beautiful things to be seen soon.
No worries, huh?
Yeah, I'm not going to take a lot based on his quote because obviously he is going in a completely different direction and apparently has not been involved in BG&E 2 for a while. Wild was announced, just for memory, Wild was announced at Gamescom in 2014. 6 years ago.
Wow, yeah.
And we saw very, very little of it. And BG&E 2 was announced at E3 2017.
My God.
The second time.
The second time. With BG&E 2.
Remember when we saw the teaser trailer with just the characters out in the desert? That infamous teaser trailer.
Yeah. Well, and then there was the gameplay, whatever that was.
Yeah, that was a leak, yeah.
If we still, we're jumping around. Haven't heard
Apparently
anything about...
he also worked on Peter Jackson's King Kong that came out at the beginning of
that 360 game?
Yeah, early gen, yeah.
Rayman, Rabbids, and BG&E are franchises we have not heard about for a long time. Is there some weird kind of curse going on here? Is there anything to read into in terms of
Mario?
Another
Mario
reason?
That was 3 years ago as well.
Yeah, but that's like the most recent, yeah.
Is this just... Are these things detached, this man and this series and... all of the things that he has worked on? Just seems like a lot of his beloved works are all just kind of holding on.
Maybe he's just moving on because he's like, things aren't going the way he wants. He's just like, I'm out of here.
I want it to be saltier than that.
He started, it looks like, 1989 or earlier. So I think it's fine for him to move on.
Oh, of course, there's nothing wrong moving on.
To not just make video games, he wants to do other things. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, he seems like a very, very wholesome human being. And certainly... working in a wildlife sanctuary. That is tempting. I want to know where it is. Can I visit? Is what I want to know. I don't know if I'll be heading to Montpellier anytime soon. Damiani, any updates or any expectations concerning Rabbids or anything? I don't know if you're a big BGE fan, but I know that you definitely like the Mario and Rabbids crossover.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything. I'm a little surprised that after the Donkey Kong DLC, there hasn't been any sequel announced for Mario and Rabbids. It was a pretty good seller in 2017 for them, for Ubisoft and Nintendo, and there's definitely a relationship there between Nintendo and Ubisoft, and it felt like it was going in a direction where almost every year we might be hearing about a big collaboration between the two, and that just kind of, we haven't really heard anything in about a year. I feel like it's been a while, and honestly, I expect a Mario and Rabbids follow-up of some kind. I'm really shocked. If there wasn't one in the works, maybe it got canceled, but if there wasn't even one in the works at some point, I'm really surprised if that would be the case.
I feel like I still see that director, David Soliani or whatever, who directed that game. I still see him talk about it quite a bit. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on some form of sequel. Yeah.
And if you're excited about that BGE too, you just keep on waiting.
Keep waiting, baby.
Yeah. Trying to figure that out. There have been separate statements regarding that game specifically, just in terms of his departure, and then the team being like, no, that is still a thing we're very much working on.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see what that game actually is when it comes out.
I think that's what they're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
and at that point, what does it have anything to do with the original Beyond Good and Evil?
Rayman 1 was 95, which I keep forgetting.
Damn.
Yeah, it goes back older than most. Speaking of Nintendo surprises, Damiani, before we wrap up, Kirby Fighters 2 Shadow dropped. It's the thing. It's on your Switch right now. Kirby fighting game.
And the new Cadence of Hyrule DLC.
But we knew about that. There was a tease, a leak. Nintendo accidentally listed the game on their company website. And then later we're like, oh yeah, that is the thing we were just going to release. $20. King of Fighters Deluxe was a spin-off of the minigame Inside Triple Deluxe for the 3DS. This is a sequel to that. Is only on the eShop, $20. Am I excited or not, Michael Damiani?
$20.
You're asking the wrong person as someone who's not the biggest
deal.
Kirby fan over here.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really into the Kirby series. I feel like maybe I have to default to Bloodworth on this one about whether or not something like this gets, there's more than a blip on the radar. I mean, it's a nice surprise to have it shadow dropped, and in that type of game, getting a follow up is really good. It's just, yeah, I'm not, I don't get too terribly excited about Kirby announcements, honestly. Yeah, unfortunately.
Kirby being in a shadow dropped $20 fighting game, I can't tell if that's good for Kirby or bad for Kirby. Like, is he in good shape or bad shape?
No, Kirby's in great shape. Oh, yeah. Kirby games sell very well. The mainline games sell very well. I'll give you this. Kirby's one of the more underappreciated characters in the Nintendo lineup there. Fun fact, he's like the most powerful. He's like,
right?
Yeah.
We've
Smash Bros.
This.
Ultimate has they've established how strong Kirby is. And it's been nice. I think the more interesting thing I did read though that made my ears perk up a little bit was within the Kirby Fighters sequel data, someone found references to potentially maybe a new 3D Kirby that might be announced at some point in the near future, and that has me a little bit more interested because those mainline Kirbys sell very well, and I still they sell well on Switch. I still think Kirby needs that blockbuster moment where Kirby finally gets the respect that Kirby deserves. I feel like it's just an underappreciated character, but also a game that I could get really fall in love with. A lot of the Kirby games don't speak to me, unfortunately. I'd love to have a Kirby game. It's like this. That's it. That's the one. I have to play this one. I now am a Kirby fan.
All right. I'll keep trying, Damiani.
Yeah, keep trying, Jones. Right. Maybe next announcement. No, it's kidding.
Blood, any Kirby thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, Kirby's a weird franchise in a way because I think there's like three veins of Kirby. There's your very traditional, somewhat easy platformers that are just jolly to go through, and are your main course for Kirby. Then you've got the crazy ones like Canvas Curse, where they're or Rainbow Curse and all of these different things, or even Epic Yarn, where they're just throwing Kirby as a license onto some entirely different bizarre concept, right? And then you've got stuff like this, which to me is just I don't know. It's something like Kirby Fighters. Like I don't have like this feels like it should be a mini game within the bigger game.
Yep.
I just don't know why I would go out and spend $20 on the Kirby Fighters 2, because it's like, okay, that'll be like a fun couple hours with some friends, and okay, cool, that was it. I'm not gonna get deep into Kirby Fighters.
Yeah, man. All those memorable
like I was surprised
characters.
when they said there was a story.
Your favorite characters like King DDD, Kirby, and Meta Knight, and that's it, right?
Well, they're treating like there's like 17 different powers or something like that they're treating
they're going the
as
Goku
separate
route.
fighters, essentially.
So the
Yeah.
Gokus, like 17 Gokus.
Oh, that's okay.
So I guess that way you don't really like like you don't get your powers knocked off. Maybe you do, but it's not. Yeah, it sort of sounds like
Okay.
you just use your different powers as your different characters essentially for Kirby, and then on top of that they throw in Meta Knight and DDD and Gooey and all that.
Gooey. Is that a real character?
Yeah, it's basically a slime.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Slime with a long tongue.
I think we all learned a little bit more about Kirby. I'm coming out of this conversation positive about Kirby as in general for the Kirby news this week. Also this week, I have a bunch of other headlines I'm going to race through. Speak up if any of these resonate with you personally. This top one definitely resonates with us as a company. The Game Awards will return on December 10th. Be very interesting to see what that is going to be like. But that officially has a date.
Live from multiple cities.
Multiple cities.
That's insane. Yeah.
I wish Jeff would not stick to his guns on timing for the Game Awards, because I think this year is going to.
Oh, sure.
The feedback this year is going to be
games.
a mess.
Yeah.
Because the deadline is going to be November 15th or something, like 3 days after the PlayStation 5 launches.
In some
Miles
cases,
Morales
getting the
launches.
consoles that's the
Demon
only
Souls,
things you can
though,
play
baby.
some of the stuff on. And
Made it.
Yeah. It's like it's like, is that? I mean, I'm not even sure the 15th is going to be the cutoff, but Cyberpunk is going to come right after that.
Oh, yeah.
Other games are going to come after that. It's just going to be.
It's going to be
really a more of a mess than usual with next gen.
I just imagine being that like one guy that played the game going into a GOTY debate at IGN. Just like there's this huge team that comes together for GOTYs, and you're just like that one dude who played that RTS or some other game. You're like, trust me, I swear. I know none of you had time.
We've been in that boat.
Too much going on.
Yeah.
It's just a bigger room, I imagine.
I wonder. I don't know if I wonder how many people vote there and whatnot.
How brutal
their team is.
Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be shorter than The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, according to CD Projekt Red.
Very cool.
There was a third Night City Wire. We got the minimum PC specs for Cyberpunk, and Adidas is making Cyberpunk sneakers. Big week for Cyberpunk. Among Us 2 canceled.
Yeah.
a month after they announced it.
Yeah,
little too excited
overnight.
there. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
They were immediately like, we're making the next one. And then they were like, no, we're making stuff for this one. Why are we making another one? Why don't we just add some more stuff for this game that people are already playing? Among Us hours watched on Twitch spiked 650% from July to August. So people were tuning into that one. We'll get back to specifically how many people right now are watching Among Us in just a second. Somebody played Fall Guys on a giant stadium screen. Good for them. Fall Guys had the highest earning PC launch since Overwatch. In digital revenue, the highest earning PC launch.
Good for them.
Since Overwatch. Fall Guys and Among Us doing very well. Some people were sad that Among Us edging out Fall Guys. They're both doing fine. Don't worry about either of those studios.
Just let them
both
be.
having
They're
a
so
great
different. Just
year.
let them be.
Good news, former Indivisible devs formed a new studio called Future Club. So they're finally past
this
all
was
the crazy
really
shackles of their psycho boss. And
you want to talk about silver linings, man.
Good for them,
To
dude.
see everything that they've been putting up with, and then there's the people deciding, like, you know what? We're just going to leave.
So that's got to feel good. Best of luck to that team. And their
Create
future
their own
endeavors.
studio.
The Baldur's Gate 3 Early Access Beta delayed just a little bit to October 6th.
Let it
BlizzCon Online is scheduled for February 19th through the 20th in 2021. Speaking of Blizzard, former president Mike Morhaime launched Dreamhaven, which is going to be a publishing arm that will oversee Moonshot and Secret Door. And I am reading this update from gamesindustry.biz, and I'm scrolling by every single photo. It's like, I know that guy. I know that guy. I know that guy. Just a lot of people who are no longer at Blizzard, a lot of people who left around the same time, and Mike Morhaime is doing what he did back then. He's going to be basically managing this umbrella company that will be supervising both of these devs that are working on who knows what.
Yeah, I feel like I give them props a lot, but it's like really worth reading that gamesindustry.biz article to see the kind of leadership that they have with Morhaime, as well as the other people that they've picked up, former Blizzard leads. Like this is a company that I really hope to hear some interesting things from in the next couple of years.
It almost sounds too good to be true. Like, you read it, and they're very much like, we want them to do what they want to do.
It's old Blizzard,
we don't want
dude.
them to have to deal with
the dream.
A lot of
Jones, we gotta go back to BlizzCon real quick.
Oh, please.
Usually they have that in November, around that time it seems to be, but they're delaying it to February, you said now, which is super fascinating. I for sure thought, I'm pretty sure they're gonna do digital one. They said that a long time ago, but I thought it would have been earlier. I'm surprised they're kind of waiting in November.
Yeah. It's tricky. I don't know if you would officially call it a delay. I feel like BlizzCon was canceled, and then this is its own new thing. So I don't know if you can really draw comparisons between what you would normally expect.
I think that they said earlier that it was going to become a digital.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I think it's good because it'll give more time for Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4, which probably still a ways off. Overwatch 2, they showed that way too early, and Shadowlands is kind of wrapping up development, kind of.
Yeah.
So they're probably dying over there right now.
Brad, we're learning. You got to get those titles out there early in case Microsoft wants to buy it.
True.
You got to let people know.
They already got bought. They're already a big boy.
It's true. Speaking of stuff that's coming and going, Disintegration came out in June and is closing its servers in November.
Oh,
not Disintegration, no. And we got Brad here. Brad, you were.
I reviewed that. Yeah.
That, right?
Yeah, I reviewed that. Yeah, it was okay. It's fun.
That's it for Disintegration, folks.
But yeah, I can't see people playing that multiplayer that long.
A bad name for a game that has a very short lifespan. Ubisoft released an Assassin's Creed promo that only had men in it. They were just across all Assassin's Creed. They were like, and this is Assassin's Creed. Just dudes. A lot of people were upset. Ubisoft later apologized because that's what Ubisoft does best.
How could they... they always do this shit where I thought they would know... They always do something like that. They're like, oh, sorry.
Ubisoft has had a record this year for making weird mistakes.
I think we're starting to see the consequence of having teams spread out across 16 different countries, man. It's
not a huge deal, but
oh yeah, that marketing team didn't get the memo of everything else that was going on.
Something else they'd have to apologize for. Near Replicant launching on April 23rd, 2021. Nice. Sega developing a Yakuza movie with 1212 and Wild Sheep. No idea when we're going to get more information on that. That is just coming from the the ground up. And this is almost a press release me, unless any of you stop me, which you're not going to. I'm getting through all of this.
That could be hype or
I'm
real
about
bad.
to say the word Miles Morales 7 times? 8 times, maybe 8. Here we go. Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered is an enhanced version of Marvel's Spider-Man and is included as part of Marvel Spider-Man's Miles Morales Ultimate Edition for the PlayStation 5. In addition, players who purchase Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales on PlayStation 4 can upgrade at no additional cost to the PS5 version of Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales and can take advantage of a paid upgrade to download Marvel Spider-Man Remastered. There are no plans currently to offer Marvel Spider-Man Remastered as a standalone. Players with a copy of Marvel's Spider-Man for PS4 can purchase Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition to experience Marvel Spider-Man Remastered on PS5. Marvel Spider-Man for PS4 will also be backwards compatible on PS5. Got it? Nothing confusing about that. Moving on. The big takeaway being, if Remastered is something you're like, oh, cool, yeah, I want to buy that on PS5. You're not buying that. You're buying a specific version, not just Miles Morales. Specific version of Miles Morales.
Didn't Call of Duty do some shit like this with one of their Modern Warfare remasters? I forgot. It was like a pre-order.
Oh, you could only get the remaster if you bought the new game.
So stupid,
but
man.
Then that did go eventually on its own.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will later. But it's like, come on, dude.
So The mess. If you're like, I gotta get that remastered, gotta get the Ultimate Edition of Miles. Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Sorry, Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales Ultimate Edition is what you want if you want to not play the Marvel Spider-Man.
$69.99.
So
There you go.
stupid.
It is time for love and respect.
Love and respect.
This is absolute nonsense, but it's just too silly to pass up. Gee, the finger. $7.5 billion is a lot of money, and I think we can often forget just how much money it truly is. So let's play a game I call Skyrim's The Limit. Below are 4 purchases that Microsoft could have made instead of acquiring ZeniMax, all of which are related to ZeniMax's studios or its properties. Each panelist must simply answer the question asked at the end of each purchase. Closest without going over wins. So according to G the Finger, you can't go over. Closest without going over wins. Adoration
Price
and
is Right.
admiration. Number 1, instead of spending the $7.5 billion on the acquisition, Microsoft made the smart move and used that money on a Fallout First membership. Assuming they go with annual pricing, when would their membership expire? If you spent $7.5 billion on a Fallout First membership, when would it expire?
7 billion, dude. I don't know. Like
I couldn't even say.
3 billion years.
I thought
don't know.
Damiani would come up.
3,041. I don't know.
You're actually running the numbers, Damiani.
Like, I don't know how
I don't
much.
know what
I don't know how much it is. So I'm like guessing.
It's $100 a year, so that would be.
Oh wait, it's $100 a year. Oh wait, never mind.
That would the year would be 75,2020 AD.
Oh my gosh.
That's when it would run out.
$100 a year?
Yeah, my guess was gonna be like 30,000 years. But
Yep.
holy
Oh
crap!
my God.
Never mind.
That first membership's 100 a year. Did you know that Todd rhymes with flawed? Incidentally, how many Todd Howards could you purchase with $7.5 billion to help make the perfect game using his estimated net worth as his price?
Oh,
So
shit.
Todd Howard's net worth, you're just buying him. How many Todd Howards could you buy?
A couple mil. At least. He's a couple
Oh
mil.
my God.
probably.
$7.5 billion. How
Like-
many Todd Howards?
7,000.
We need Jason Wishnow for this
Nope,
game.
you went
man.
over.
I went over shit.
5,000?
Nope. You went over.
Oh, shit. All right, below.
How
What
many
do you got?
3,041. I'll do it again.
Only 750 Todd Howards. He is estimated to
thought
be
it-
worth $10 million.
Come on,
Oh,
Todd.
damn it.
Step it
I
up.
really
Yeah,
guess,
750 of those Todd
okay,
Howards.
damn
Can you
it.
imagine
Just
all of them
kidding.
lined up in their leather jackets? Film critic
no
Roger
idea.
Ebert said of the
just
2005
works.
Doom film, Roger Ebert said of 2005's Doom, it has one great shot. It's the Universal logo. Using the film's maximum estimated budget as a price, how many times could you make the Doom movie with $7.5 billion to try and appease Roger? How many Dooms could you make with
50.
7.5? You're under. Didn't go over, at
32.
least.
Oh, no. 50 was under.
Yeah.
Let's see.
200.
No, you went over. You could take it.
123.
107, you went over, so Damiani wins.
Damn it.
70 million budget for that Doom there.
Oh,
You can make
dang it.
170
That was
Dooms.
a little more.
107 Dooms.
70 million?
And finally, fun fact,
Wow.
Liam Neeson, the actor who plays your dad in Fallout 3, has also appeared in films. How many more times larger is this acquisition than Mr. Neeson's aggregate worldwide lifetime box office when he is in a leading role? How much bigger is this
7
purchase
times.
than all of the money Liam Neeson has made when he's in a leading role?
7 times.
Too much.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
4 times.
Two times.
Too much. Too much. 1.3. Yeah, that Liam Neeson there.
Oh shit! I forgot Star Wars.
$5.7 billion.
Damn it!
Oh, he was
I forgot Star Wars.
just running
Shit.
literally through
I'll
every
never
single movie
forget.
he's ever done. It's easy to forget Star Wars. A lot of the Star Wars franchises
Yeah,
too.
Star Wars killed that right away.
From Sean Dupree, easy peasy lemon squeezy allies. I have a list here of franchises which blessed each PlayStation except the PS4. As a committee, you must decide which to send a small team of developers back in time to right this wrong. Sort of a gaming quantum leap. Here's your list. I look forward to hearing what you missed most. Thanks, Sean. I think this is super easy. We literally just pick a game off this list. I know which game everybody's going to pick. 9 games that weren't on the PlayStation 4. Number 1, Barbie. Number 2, Armored Core. Number 3, Twisted Metal. Number 4, Castlevania. Number 5, James Bond. Number 6, Silent Hill. Number 7, Duke Nukem. Number 8, Quake. And number 9, Ape Escape. Not on the PlayStation 4
Yeah,
at all.
between Castlevania and Silent Hill.
I'm
I was
happy at
thinking-
least Castlevania made the cut.
I was expecting this to be
thinking-
first party. Yeah.
I was thinking Castlevania or Armored Core, honestly.
I was
Armored
thinking
Core is my number
Sly was
3.
going to be in there.
They forgot to.
These are there are more franchises obviously that were not PlayStation 4. Just of these 9.
Yeah, let's just do Castlevania.
would have to be the
Castlevania.
thing.
Show it respect. Show it the respect.
That's what happens when you take Ian off the podcast.
Hey,
Nice.
Show some respect.
I mean, he's a Castlevania
Respect
fan too.
your elders.
He is, but you know he would pick Silent Hill over Castlevania. Love putting words in the mouths of people who aren't on the podcast. Dustin McNabb, hello allies. I got great news. Microsoft is hiring you to oversee a new studio they're forming. They want you to make a crossover game with the massive roster of IPs they're collecting, similar to Smash Brothers, but it can be in any genre. What type of game do you make? How many characters can you work into the game? Love and respect, Dustin. Microsoft
Fall Guys
has got
type game.
It's a Fall Guys, but there's
Fall Guys with
Doom
all those
Guy
characters. Yes.
all the Bethesda properties.
Like it's like first person platforming. So it's like FPS platforming. Yeah.
And you have any weapons? You have to, like, can you pick
I like
something?
that.
Yeah, like weapons and stuff. It's just obstacle courses.
Okay.
I'm just
Just
going to
crazy
do more
obstacle courses.
traditional battle royale then with them.
I mean, you just mentioned the words twisted metal, so I can't help but think of everybody in vehicles on a huge giant map made by like Playground Games or something, or rolling across Skyrim or so, it's just like and just all the crazy vehicles you could have, not just with wheels, like you have stuff up in the air and
Sorry,
yeah, dude.
I gotta change my answer. I gotta make it like a Mario Party game with all these people.
I was gonna go dating
Dude, you
sim.
literally just have the board that is like Hell from Doom, or you have Skyrim, and they're all doing mini games together. Make that game.
Speaking of potentially getting a new Silent Hill, finally from Ziggy. Greetings, allies. This week, we have heard yet another Sony and Konami rumor. This time, it's about Metal Gear Solid getting a remake. Prior, we heard the prospects of Team Gravity developing Silent Hill. If these things come into fruition, do you believe this is a good indicator of perhaps a major Konami and PlayStation partnership of some kind? Do you believe Sony is acquiring the IPs or perhaps a license for an acquisition of games rights to their IPs, similar to how PlayStation has the license to make Spidey games and the rights to make Spidey movies? Love and respect, Ziggy.
Wouldn't surprise
We were
me.
just kind of talking about it.
Yeah.
Maybe not an
seeing
acquisition, but a partnership.
a Metal Gear Solid remake in Fox Engine would be pretty freaking awesome, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This makes...
I saw that people actually kind of tuned out. They're like, "No, it's the no, not Metal
I
Gear
think
Solid.
I think the issue
That game's
is
totally
whether
fine
Twin
as
Snakes.
is. Like, I don't know if we need."
Fucking
Kojima's
Twin Snakes.
involvement. It's Kojima's involvement. If they can work out a deal where Sony can do it, and then Sony asks Kojima if he wants to be involved, it'd either have to be Kojima's direct involvement or Kojima selected and gives like his blessing to another creator, someone he respects, essentially, and says, "I would like to see them," like what he did with the Twin Snakes. When he got, I forget the Japanese film director who did all the cutscenes, like, I want this person to direct this because I love their films. I want to see this crazy style of Metal Gear. So it'd have to be like that, honestly. I know everyone wants Konami to sell off its IPs to Sony or somebody else. Man, I think Konami just doesn't care and it doesn't want to sell. I feel like
I don't think they want to
I don't think
sell.
they're ever going to sell. I don't think that's going to happen as much as I want it to happen.
And what's weird is, like, I feel like they might be open to Sony, but I feel like somehow they might be vindictive enough to where they wouldn't want Kojima anywhere near it.
Yeah, that's possible.
But yeah, I feel like some form of licensing deal to Sony is probably the most likely of those things. Because I don't see them selling off their gaming division. I don't even see them like giving up the money that those IP would make. I just see them saying, you can make Castlevania, Silent Hill, and Metal Gear games, and we'll get residuals off of that or whatever.
I think it was for MGS 1 and 2, actually, this rumor. That's what I heard, because MGS 1's, like, pretty short. It's pretty short. 2, like, both the games together, I could see much more.
But I learned from Michael Damiani working on the Metal Gear retrospective that Metal Gear Solid was kind of a remake of the
Metal Gear?
the originals,
Yeah,
and then we got Twin Snakes after. So it's just like,
Metal Gear,
It's
Metal Gear 2.
Yeah, Metal Gear 2 for the
right.
MSX, not the US, not Snake's Revenge, but it's called Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid Snake. Yeah, it's I mean that's fine. I mean,
it's not fine. We don't have a Final Fantasy VI remake, so get out of here with your solids and your 7s and your. Oh man.
Why'd you have to say Final Fantasy now, Jones? Why do you do this?
I'll move on. Time for bets. Next week's bet: Mafia Definitive Edition launches the day after we are recording this podcast next week. At that time, how many Steam user reviews will it have? Specifically just on the Steam there. How many times will people reviewed it? Michael Damiani.
3,500.
Oh, okay.
3,500.
Brad Ellis.
1,000.
Daniel Bloodworth.
400.
Okay, I like that. My counter with the 4,000 there. Just put another O on there, and you got mine. That'll be fascinating. Yeah, the tough to gauge. It's a fun bet because it's tough to gauge. There's no really any other number you can check that'll give you an idea for how well specifically Mafia Definitive Edition, and if people talking about the last offerings, the definitive offerings from the Mafia series, are any indication. People
Well, I'm
might
curious too
have
how
some strong opinions about this game.
the trilogy will interfere with that as well. Is the trilogy have a separate set of ratings from
Right.
Definitive Edition solo?
Where will people to go to praise and complain? Last week's bet, as of the morning of the last time we shot the podcast, and when we shot it last week, Among Us was number 1 on Twitch there, with nearly 300,000 viewers at the time. And I wanted to know, what position would it have now when we record this week's podcast? I bet it would be in the 5th position. Daniel Bloodworth was not feeling Among Us's longevity. He thought it would drop to 9. Michael Huber and Brad Ellis both thought it would stay at number 1, and Ian Hank thought it would drop to the number 2 slot. We lucked out, not in the way that you're thinking, Bloodworth. We lucked out because it did drop to the number 2 slot, giving the Jovial Penguins just the 1 point. If it stayed at 1, which it was right when we started recording this podcast, then Jovial Penguins would have gotten 2. But in this case, they just got 1 point, giving Jovial Penguins the score of 14. No quote this week. No Ian. And the Astonished Scorpion staying down below at 8. But now is when it stops. Now we just got the 2 and 2, so now our odds get better. Now we start, although we don't have any podcasts, so I should probably do the math. We might have already lost.
But that's the funny thing, though. Like you were saying, like I thought it would. I wasn't about what I thought. I'm just like everyone else is going to be betting on 1. I'm going to go to the other end.
And I should have bet lower.
Trying to be some kind of strategy there.
That Among Us, and we played a lot of that game Tuesday night, our group stream, and very much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Because Ian is not here, because that is a seat that doesn't exist anymore, I think we can just think amongst yourselves, Jovial Penguins, about specifically what you would enjoy to wrap up this podcast, as I tell you, our lovely listeners and viewers, about patreon.com/easyallies. We had some fun stuff actually coming. We got 3 spoiler modes that we just put up, and some more fun stuff coming in the month of October, specifically for patrons. Some fun exclusive content on the way. But one of our big exclusive content things that we do on Patreon are spoiler modes, conversations that we can have about games, not worrying about what people think of them, and that can take various forms. Our last 3 spoiler modes were Tell Me Why, which is a very classic spoiler mode format. This is a very narrative-heavy series of games, and we wrapped all of that up, and that was the trifecta, right? You, Huber, and Elise Williams.
I wasn't on.
You were
it was
not
just
on.
Huber and Elise.
Just Huber and Elise Williams.
I haven't got to play yet.
Talked about Tell Me Why, and then we had Marvel's Avengers, which we did talk about the story, but it was also lots of conversations about what Endgame is like. You know what that game means to you if you have played it for 2 weeks. So that was the 2-week version of potentially that story, spoilering conversation. And then a very untraditional spoiler mode, Super Mario 64.
Galaxy.
Galaxy after all these years. That is that was you, Damiani, and who else was on that?
Me and Ben.
And Ben talking after all of these years how that game is aged. And I definitely think that is a game you can spoil because there are lots of fun surprises and stuff. Did not play Odyssey, but I can certainly throw spoilers out for Hello, the last one. Not for Galaxy,
now
for
you're
Odyssey.
Getting me confused.
Galaxy is the game that you talked about. I can drop Odyssey spoilers.
Oh my gosh.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mario spoilers can be a
cascade failure.
There's a way to ruin a Mario game for someone. We don't want to ruin that for our patrons, so we want people at the $1 tier to just jump in. You get Cup of Jones. This is a show we do weekly. You get any of our exclusive series that we have had in the past. And again, fun announcements to be had later on.
Over 40 of those spoiler modes now.
Nice.
Damn.
Total that we've done across everything? Nice. So yeah, not always great opportunities to do that because you need more than one person to have a spoiler mode, and sometimes it's only one person that has experienced that. Brad, Ellis, and myself are going to be talking about Mandalorian Season 1 before Mandalorian Season 2 comes out. So some fun spoiler modes, fun exclusive content, all available to you at $1, patreon.com/EasyAllies. It's also just a fun place to go to learn about Easy Allies. We appreciate your support just listening to this podcast, catching our stuff on YouTube, listening on Megaphone, which is where our podcasts all go now, or checking us out live on Twitch.
I don't think you need a name drop Megaphone though, because it's just the thing that gets the podcast to people.
I
But
won't do it anymore. I will, however, name drop these 4 people at our shout out tier, a very tip top tier at patreon.com/EasyAllies. Blood, you're going first. Yeah, you've moved up.
Don't know what
in
to
the
do
tier.
with that.
You just go first. You just say shout out first. Then I go after you. Damiani, you go after me, and Brad, you go last. Filling in for Michael Huber this week. Thank you, Brad. Jumping in. It could have been a 3-person podcast without Brad. Shout out to Caleb, Togi Crawford, Jeff Zio VGM Easton, L. Thanis, and Greg the Dark Knight Kettering.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Ow! All right. Penguins. What are you? Yeah, you're penguins. You get to wrap up this podcast. You get to promote any Easy Allies video you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you've disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped into your head. And you get to sign off with your trademark sign off. Who wants what?
I want to do the video. Is that okay, Damiani?
Sure. Do you also want?
Do you want just the video then,
sign
Brad?
up.
And
I don't care.
Damiani
I'll
can
do whatever.
Okay,
I'm easy
Damiani,
going.
you do sign off and your final word. What's your video, Brad?
I want to promote Damiani's video, Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Revisited.
Yeah.
Damiani played
Thank
through
you.
the original storyline from a Realm Reborn way back. What year was that, Damiani? Do you know off the top of your head?
2013.
2013. They recently
7 years ago.
did some update to it to change it up and make it a little shorter. And Damian did a very in-depth video explaining all that. I really love this video, Damian, because I could feel the passion, dude. It's narrated by Damian. It's just good vibes all around. I'm not currently playing 14, but seeing that makes me fall in love with that game every time.
Thanks. Man, how I'm taken back. I don't know what to say for my final word, other than fix pre-orders, please.
Yes.
Please. I mean, I'll be a little bit more lighthearted this week with my final word. So fix pre-orders, and then as usual, everyone. Until next time, may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
The reason I remember Stadia, though, Damian, is because it sucks. And it's fun to say that.
That's dumb.
The Easy Allies would like to thank our Patreon podcast producers. We apologize in advance for all the ally names we are about to misspell and mispronounce. Caleb Togi Crawford, L. Thanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Jeff Zio VGM Easton, Walker Hope, Nick, Mark Dalga, Will Schmuck, Sigma, Robert Stoffel, Zachary Wingate, Thomas Wigginton Jr., Dave Red, Richard G. Flowers, Paolo Costabel, Discarded Digit, Alley Cat, Damnable Nook, Jay Shee, Happy Gaming, Bradley Spees, Miguel Rivas, Valmar, Blue Water Blue Sky, Daniel Portillo, Jose Gutierrez, Alex AI, Rob Bob Will, Beaten Down Brian, Chum Nguyen, Roy Sung, Hayden Hargraves, Lakota 1010, Yasser Kerbushi, G. Levin, David Wen, Matthew Pauling, G. Ken, Gary James, The Banana Forklift Killer, Marcel Markov, Catherine Lai, Todd Yurkovic, Stephen Last, Candy Coated Thorns, Hitman 47, Rack, DRD 7 of 14, Matthew Holcomb, Oni Blackmage, Niz Kloshgard, Jesper Lawson, Jordan Kirk, James Vitt, Sam Handrick, Stephen Thomason, Robert Crouch, Luke Bennett, Andy Drew, John Burns, S-Snake 14, Mango, Richard Johnston, Mark J. Betters II, Adam Henry, Tim O'Keefe, Brad Grenz, Andrew Stoke, Thor Mangus, Jake Musser, Eric Crone, Jesse Blue, Jan Tyson, Christopher Santos, Strikeout NZ, David Boyarsky, Faraz Rizvi, Pete Shoemaker, Reed Johnson, Manuel Thomas, Michelle Nubb, Mikey Mizek Novak, Alex Monaco, Paul Bishop, Marco Hernandez, Daniel Wong, Zoostic, V. Kira Ray, Don Turner, Sebastian Urban, Eddie Reisner, Sebastian Trier, Adam Scherenbrock, Evan Ang, Raymond Chow, Azazel Valkyrie, Junya Motomura, Ivan Ponce, Tuttle, Bjarnar Haraldsvik, Egg Stravaganza, Joshua Vanswall, Stephen Walther, Tense George, Colin Hoylman, Barry, Cyberboa, Forrest, Eric Maynard, Chase Caldwell, Isun Chor, Leon Keys, Chris the Pianist, Ian Anderson, Philip Higdon, Nycrypt, Jai Aldiar, Robert I, C.S. Lewis, Ahmed Al-Rashed, Bonnie and Jason Connor, Travis Miosi, Mike Calvi, Alex Glass, The Fatty Show, Neo Bear, DanPan16, Wouter DeHaze, Malcolm Moschette, William Heaney, Not Jack, Mithers Strongbeard, Jana, Anthony Galvin, V8 Dave, Orugachino, Dakota Hayes, The Classiest Hobo, Misuki211, Matt Karwoski, Liam Ahern, Bunny Chen, David Kennedy, Materia Addict, Arthur Henrique Chinaglia, Culinary Stud, Magnus Rasmussen, Edison S. Prada Jr., Tim Mann, Sean Rao, Crediar, Mauricio Fuentes, Jesse Fish, Gabriel Aberg, Zahid Hosseini Korami, Luis Ibarra, Lee Young, Alexander Zirianov, Morpheus, Christian Hundorf, Brian Foster, Sean Cornett, Linson Wu, General Piet, Matthew Migler, Brandon White, Christophe Fatui, Michael Clendenan, Wen Boshan, Hadi Ali, Aurelien Grenier, Eric Gustafson, Trevor Thomas, Wavering Radiant, Michael Kozachenko, Awesome Express, Adam Lindsay, Corey Landega, Pablo Rodriguez, Alec Church, Ibrahim Sozer, Carl Williams, Gustav Strombohm, Volker Bach, Russell Bateman, Lindsay Wells, Jason I, Nefertiti Jenkins, Tyler Wallace, Kyle Quintero, Jesse Vitelli, Jonathan and Amy Elkonis, Quinn Riley, JC3, Paul Nolson, Isaac Swanson, Jameson Lapine, Max His Shame Turman, Jethrin, Breadroll Art, Matt Ford, Joey Din, Splontot, Jordan Phillips, Ryan Wagner, Matthias Clare, Spencer Stevens, Jeffrey Murillo, Trizac, Matt Ferguson, Sam Sorensen, Vincent Foliat, Paul Sway, Michael Baloney, Andy Marks, Tim Strothman, XWF Outlaw, Julius Garcia, Alex Lavanier, Ritz 1906, Joel Short, Dimitri Zetas, Mazrim Tain, Helen Y, Noah Weinstein, Jameson Anderson, Daniel Fuchs, Travis Kikowski, Megadet, Sneaky Gato, Blake Bonsack, W. Crusher, Line Crown 19, Tom Masterman, Jojo Denko, ZK, Jose Carlos Madrigal, Mr. Anarchy, Thomas Blaze Fauchereau, Andreas Risberg, Dreams of Caffeine, Michael Bisegli, Matthew Holmes, Alexander McGeekern, Kodiak Bear 88, Lars Berger, Marcel Giroux 17 Froelich, Erdney Kutnow, Megan McDonough, Glenn Olson, Ulf himself, Corey Jackson, Natabia Ross, Allison Burt, Ryan Anderson, Jesse Wilkeson, Katie Garza, Jeffrey Ruchtenwald, Dan Sebring, James Davey, Neil Bruce, Silent Consonant, Craig Happ, Travis Ing, Cody Westley, Cisco Ace Jackson Garcia, Kroldemort, Jeremy Ferris, Clay Roberts, Super 3D Cow, Ahab, Malianware, Mick Roper, Accounts Payable, Tristan Howard, John Gallagher, Gray Willow, Andrew Reif, Mikhail Aniel, Blue, Matthew Eden, A Filthy Lot, Neuromood, Jean-Sebastian B., Mike Hook 1, Miguel, Patrick Imbush, Retroid Vaniac, Delisi, Matthew T. Ryan, Ethereal Ether, Mo Grant.